Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. I want to talk about my 2022 Chevy Silverado 3500hd Duramax LT trim. It's been on the channel before. I've done some videos on it. See a link down below for all of the playlists for this video, for this particular truck. Well, I got a big update on the truck, guys. I actually just sold it this week. So it's been sold, my 2022 Silverado 3500hd. A lot of people have been asking me, emailing me, messaging me about the truck. Why haven't I done more videos? Well, got rid of it, guys. I sold it this last week, and it was actually I'm actually glad I was able to sell it. I didn't use it like I thought I was going to. I ordered it back in March of 2022. I got it in April of 2022, so it only took 7 weeks to get this truck. And I custom ordered exactly how I wanted it. It was the LT trim with the Duramax engine. It has the All-Star Convenience 2 package. It had the gooseneck prep. It had the Z71 package, heavy-duty front springs, and then it also had like the upfitter switches. So it was pretty loaded LT. MSRP was like $70,400 on this thing, and that's what I paid plus tax, title, registration, license, etc. And I had it for 11 months, and guess what, guys? I put 2,500 miles on this truck, which kind of pathetic, right? Having this truck for 11 months, that few miles. I even got the oil change twice in it. But I sold it because, guys, I just wasn't using it like I thought I was going to. I bought it originally because I wanted to get a fifth wheel toy hauler, a big RV to be able to tow, and I just didn't use it for that. I never got the fifth wheel, and I got a motorhome instead. So I really don't need the truck, and it's been a fourth vehicle. We have 2 Teslas in the Yukon. It's a fourth vehicle. It just sits. And so, if you're anything like me, you know, if you have an asset like that that's just sitting there depreciating, you just want to get rid of it. So that's kind of what happened. I want to talk about the likes and dislikes, what my experience was like over the first 2,500 miles. Now, having that many miles, there was no issues, no mechanical issues, no problems, no breakdowns, no dealership visit. There was the recall for the heated seats. I had to take it in to get a retrofit on that, which that I knew that going into it, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But there was no issues, just like you'd expect from 2,500 miles on a vehicle. But I want to talk about some things I do differently. So I didn't need that big of a vehicle. I didn't need that heavy-duty truck if I'm not going to tow anything. The only thing I ever towed with it was one time I towed my enclosed cargo trailer, which is about 4,000 pounds fully loaded up. And I towed that about 100 miles round trip, and it did great. Of course it did great. The heavy-duty truck, the 3500, can tow 21,000 pounds, has a 3,800 pound payload capacity. It can take a pin weight, a fifth wheel pin weight of almost 3,200 pounds. So it can tow a huge trailer, and that's what I was originally hoping to use it for, but it just didn't do it. So it didn't make sense for me to keep it if I'm not going to really tow with it, because that truck is made specifically to tow heavy and frequently. So if you're doing that, that's the truck for you. But if you're not towing and you're using it to drive to Home Depot and the grocery store and occasional work commute like I was using it, it just doesn't make sense to really drive that kind of vehicle for that type of purpose. One thing I was thinking about, what would I order differently in this truck, having lived with this for 11 months? And one thing I would do is I probably wouldn't order the Duramax engine. The Duramax engine is a $10,000 option. I don't think it's worth that if you're not going to tow heavy and frequently. Like, probably ordering like the 2500 LT or even the custom trim. In 2024, they're coming out with the 10-speed transmission along with a 6.6 gas engine. That would actually be a pretty good truck to have, a gas heavy-duty truck. But that's probably what I'd do differently if I was to order another heavy-duty truck. I don't need the diesel. The diesel's not. I don't think it's worth the $10,000 cost. But I was able to get top dollar out of when I sold this. I was able to sell it for just around the MSRP, around $71,000. So basically, I lost out the taxes and insurance, registration costs, and I did put some wheels and tires on it as well. So I lost out that money, but I do feel it'll win to be able to get that much money out of it, especially with the new 2024s coming out. Right now we're in March of 23. The 2024 heavy-duty truck from the Silverado is being redesigned in the interior, much needed update in the interior. And so that's why I figured if I sell it now, I'll be able to get top dollar. If I waited until the newer interior comes out, I might be less when it comes to resale time. I want to talk about the likes, maybe some likes and dislikes I liked about the truck. Now, there's a lot to like about it. The truck is very capable, very powerful. It's huge. That's maybe one of my dislikes, is it is a huge truck. And if you're just driving around the city and parking in parking lots, it's challenging to park in and out. You pull in and out of parking lots to parking spaces. The mirrors on it are huge. The mirrors, so that's kind of a plus and a negative. is that they're huge mirrors. The visibility is great through the mirrors, but pulling in, you have to tuck those mirrors in everywhere you go, any parking spots, because they just stick out too much. Also, mine was black in color, and I probably wouldn't order black again. I think it was just very challenging to order to keep clean. The clear coat swirled very easily. If you take it to a car wash, it just would swirl very easily. You wipe it with a rag, it would swirl. So it just seemed like that black color just shows every little tiny swirl mark. And so I would not get black again. Probably wouldn't get the Duramax engine again because it's a huge expense, and even the gas engine on the 25 or 3500 trucks is pretty capable. Also, the cost of diesel. Now, this isn't the truck's fault. This is more an economic factor, but the cost of diesel was expensive. I mean, over $5 a gallon. I mean, there was even times when it was close to $6 a gallon while owning this truck. So it was probably like diesel was at its all-time high as far as fuel costs are concerned, and you know, that was just an added expense to driving this truck, and that is putting the diesel fuel in there. This is, like I said, I probably was out the door $76,000 in this truck. The interior just didn't look like that quality of a truck. I mean, it just looked like a cheap interior. It looked dated. It looked cheap. The gauge clusters were all analog gauges. It wasn't a digital screen. It just looked cheap. And this new redesign for 2024 is much needed, and that's going to make it look like a more premium truck. Paying $70,000, $71,000 for a truck, you expect it to have some level of, like, you know, the fit and finish was good, but just the look of the interior just looked like a work truck. Along those lines, in the interior, the front passenger seat in the truck. Now, this is the LT trim, and I'm a victim of the LT trim, and that's just what I had to live with, but the LT trim came with a manual passenger seat. So I did have leather seats, so that made it a little nicer. But the passenger front seat was all manual. The seat back was manual. The forward and back function was all manual. It wasn't a powered seat. And also the driver's seat. One thing that was kind of annoying was also the driver's seat was powered, but it wasn't a memory setting. So when my wife would drive it or someone else would drive it, you know, I'd have to keep reset, have to find where I'm going to put the seat. So there was no memory function. I thought, like, that's kind of a miss. Yeah, I know if I'd have gone LTZ or High Country or something, I would have had that feature. But for the LT trim, it just seems like it should have that type of a feature of memory driver seat. And then finally, probably my biggest complaint of the truck was it just had a really rough ride. You know, just those heavy-duty springs, the heavy-duty suspension, a big, heavy truck. It has to have heavy suspension because the thing has almost a 4,000-pound payload capacity. So it has good payload capacity, but just when I basically drove this thing 98% of the time unloaded, no trailer, no cargo, and it was rough. Like, I'd go down the street and I'm hitting, you know, rutted up roads or washboarded roads or just different contours on the road. It just was rough. It was just jarring. It wasn't like a pleasurable, relaxing drive, and so those are really my big complaints with this truck. Otherwise, everything else I really enjoyed about the truck. Now, looking back, I probably should have just gone with a 1500, or an F-150 or a Silverado 1500 or a Sierra 1500. That's what I'm going to look for going forward because I think that would probably suit my needs more. But I'm also not going to get a brand new one. I'm going to find one that's, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. That's got, you know, 100 to 150,000 miles on it. Something that I don't feel bad about sitting or not using, or it become more like a beater truck, something that I can use and not like a garage queen. This 3500 I had, it sat in the garage. I didn't want to get it dirty, you know, like it just seemed like, because it was really hard to clean and keep clean. So I want something that's kind of opposite that, where I can just, you know, kind of beat it up a little bit, not worry about how it looks, and, you know, just use it for day-to-day truck stuff, because I'm really not going to be towing with it. I really don't have a lot to tow, and so if you're like me and you're not towing every day regularly or a lot of weight, a 1500 or an F-150 or something like that is going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot more comfortable to drive around town, and that was where I didn't really enjoy driving this big heavy-duty 1-ton truck around town, and so therefore I didn't really drive it a lot. I just drove, you know, my other vehicles. I am glad that I had the truck. I mean, I did get some use out of it this summer. We did some landscaping projects and things. I had to haul some stuff. So I do still probably need a truck, but or it'd be nice to have a truck, just not something that's dedicated like for heavy-duty towing like the 3500hd. But anyways, guys, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Leave your comment down below. I'm curious to know what your thought is on this truck. If you guys have, you know, these likes, dislikes, I'm curious if other people feel the same way. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.